Hello, everyone, and welcome to Ask Concussion Doc, episode 92. I'm pretty sure it's 92 anyway. I had to go back and check, but I'm pretty sure we're at number 92, and I am back. Finally, where was I all this time? I've had a lot of people asking me, hey, when are you going to do more podcasts? I've been wanting more content and stuff, and so, when COVID hit, we did a few episodes on trying to manage your symptoms from home because we knew people would need that. And basically, after doing a few of those on all the questions that were coming in, we realized that people needed more than what we were able to offer just on like a live, session, because on these live sessions, I can't show you slides. I can't show you really studies. It's all audio, especially those for listening on the podcast. And so we tried to do as best as we could, but what ended up, we kind of came to the realization that we needed something a little bit more, something that would actually allow people to, truly get the help that they needed when clinics were shutting down and all this stuff was going on. And so I basically got a few of my colleagues together, Dr. Paul Herkel, who I'm sure a lot of you know already quite well through social media, and Melinda Crinan-Hill, who's a psychotherapist and specializes in working with patients with chronic pain and persistent concussion symptoms. And the three of us came together and developed a program that could be delivered online and deliver all of the things that anybody with persistent concussion symptoms would need to walk them through kind of a program, because we knew all these clinics were shutting down and this was going to be something that would be so much more helpful. So I kind of switched my attention to that. And in June, after months of work, we launched it, and the program is called the Concussion Fix. If you go to concussiondoc.io, you'll see that program there. I'm extremely proud of it, and it's something that Dr. Herkel and Melinda are also extremely proud of. If you want to check out Melinda, you can follow her at Stillspace on Instagram, and Dr. Paul Herkel is at Dr. Paul Herkel, ND, I believe. But something that we're extremely proud of. We see the patients in there every day. I've been spending most of my time on that program, working with the patients in that program, and we do live sessions every week. And so we just kind of get into some stuff. And so I'm sure those of you that are a part of this are already familiar with what I'm talking about. So the focus on that at the start of the summer, at least, that's where I was. I devoted most of my time to that. And then in June, my wife and I welcomed our second baby, little baby boy named Bennett, not so little anymore. And then the past couple months, I've just been face down. Every year we redo the Ccmi training course. And so I've spent the past 2 months going through all of the research from the past 18 months, compiling it all into the training course for rehab professionals. And so we just finished it up, the new training course for Complete Concussion Management for rehab professionals. It is officially launching next week, November 11th, which is Remembrance Day. And so those of you that are hearing this in audio format on podcasts, we usually release this a week after the live session. And right now, so those of you listening, we are going to be running some sales next week. So for those of you listening on podcast, you'll be hearing this live. So in the show notes for this episode, we will have included a link, and you can click on that link, and that'll take you to the training course, and there's some significant sales on there. Another thing that we've introduced with this course is something brand new. We're calling the Ccmi Academy. Basically, with concussion, things change so rapidly. So if you're a clinician trying to keep up to date with the research, there's 200 or 300 brand new studies coming out every single month. And if you're not like us and don't have a research team at your disposal to be able to kind of sift through all that stuff, it's going to be very difficult for you to keep up. And so the Concussion Academy, or the Ccmi Academy, is something that we developed as part of the course as a membership platform so that you could get access to all of that information. You get to keep access to all of the course material and all of that stuff. And also you get into the Ccmi Facebook group, which has a collection of all of the different trained professionals from around the world. So you can collaborate, ask questions, talk to people, run their complex cases by them, and all that sort of stuff. And right now we're offering 60 days of a free trial inside that course. So get it while you can. Next week, pay attention. We will be running sales on social media for those of you PTs, chiropractors, ATs, OTs, all of our rehab professionals. Next week will be the launch of that course, and there will be some sales, and you get 60 days free inside the membership. And so pay attention to that. And that is where I have been. I've been just, head down, doing a lot of work and spending some time with family and new babies and all that stuff. So, but I'm back now. We set up our podcast schedule, and this will run basically every week. We're doing six to 8 week stretches, and then I basically am taking the summers off. That's how I'm going to schedule things. So we'll take holiday seasons and summers off. And so I have the schedule laid out until May with a variety of things. I see questions coming in already on the live, and I'm sure we'll be able to address some of those towards the end. So stick around, and I'll answer some questions that are not necessarily related to today's topic. All right. So let's get into today's topic. This is something that I've been kind of wanting to cover for a while. And we're going to talk about these week-long intensives. Typically, these are delivered by those in the functional neurology space. So for those of you generally with persistent concussion symptoms, you may have heard of functional neurology or looked into doing some of these things. But generally, you travel somewhere, you're there, you have to, get a hotel and whatever else, and you're there for a week. And it's just a solid week of rehab and testing and all sorts of different things like that. And it's generally super, super expensive. I'm an evidence-based guy. I like to follow the science. I like to follow the research. And all of the research shows that a week is not enough to affect any type of change in anything. And this is the thing that really gets me, because generally these programs are super, super expensive. So any of you have tried this or done this, and please feel free to comment and kind of leave your experience. But I have yet to have a single patient that has had any significant or appreciable change by doing one of these programs ever. And I mean, this is something that I specialize in. This is something that, the patients I see are all patients with chronic persistent concussion symptoms, and so they've tried a whole bunch of different things by the time they get to me, and they say they've I went down to here and I went down to there and I tried this and I did one of these week-long things, and not one single patient in my experience has ever had a significant benefit. Now you might listen to that and say, well, that's because if they did have a benefit, they wouldn't be coming to see you because they'd already be recovered. That's a good point, but I've also seen it the other way, where I'm working with a patient and they say, hey, I booked this a while ago before I came to see you, and it's now come up and I'm still going to go and I'm going to try it. So these are people that are currently undergoing rehab, and then they go and then they come back a week later and it's, so how was it? Yeah, nothing. And these programs are like $10,000 to $15,000 in a number of cases. That's not including your hotel, your travel, and all these other things. But the promise is there that it's going to be super, super expensive. And the thing that really triggered this for me, especially since not one of my patients has ever done this and been like, oh yeah, that was amazing, that was the ticket, I got a lot of benefit from that. It's always kind of like, I don't know, it may have helped a little bit, but I'm not sure. I mean, that's not worth $10,000 to $15,000 in my opinion, to go and do that and kill yourself for a week and travel and all that stuff just for, I don't know, maybe. That's definitely not worth it in my opinion. And the reason that this does not work is that because your brain does not just regenerate, recalibrate, get used to new stimulus in a week period, no matter what. All of the research that's done on concussion, and there are proven therapies, there are proven treatments for concussion, and they all center around rehab, whether it's visual, vestibular, cervical spine, exercise therapy, diet strategies, all these things, all of the rehab protocols that are out there, they all are at least 8 to 10 weeks in length, if not longer. And that's where the evidence actually shows that you can have an appreciable change if you're doing this for 8 to 10 weeks consistently, right? And you can't just do one thing at a time. You have to kind of combine things, and that's a topic for another thing. Maybe we'll cover that at the end. But the thing is, going to do anything like this for a week is not going to be as effective as you would probably hope. And the cost of these things is insane. And the thing that really triggered me, which I was going to get into, is that I saw this on a Facebook post, and this was a couple months ago, and it was something that really kind of triggered me, where, this individual said, I'm super excited. I finally, the day is here. I'm going down to do my week-long intensive, and I've spent every last dollar that I have, and I'm super pumped to go and do this, wish me luck and all this stuff. And I saw this post, and I just, in my mind, am just like, no, don't do it. But you know what? They've already bought the ticket, they're going, and I'm just like, who am I to, get in the way and say anything about this? Because even if there's, let's say, a placebo effect to this thing, that's great. Like, you're going to be better, and that's fine. And I waited and I waited and I waited, and then the next week, obviously, you see a post from this same person saying that they feel just as bad as they did when they went down, and now they're, they've given up hope, they're hopeless, they don't know if they're ever going to recover, and now they spent every last dollar that they had. So this just triggered me beyond belief, and this is actually when I sat down and set the podcast schedule for this year, and this being the very first topic that I wanted to cover. It just doesn't work like that. If you're expecting to go anywhere and do anything, you cannot expect to have any type of benefit in a week's time. It's going to take you 8 to 10. Now, if you're spending $10,000 to $15,000 for each one of these weeks, you're going to run out of money very, very quickly. All right? So it's neuroplasticity. It takes time. The thing that works is doing something of benefit to challenge the system on a regular, consistent basis for a long period of time until those connections start to wire together and work together. You're never going to get that in a week. So please, if you're listening to this and you are considering going to one of these things and doing this, just know that it does not work. And this is the thing that kills me about the concussion space. There's so many special treatments out there where people are charging you an arm and a leg, and it's a week long. You do SPECT scans, and you do all this other stuff. You do hyperbaric oxygen therapy and whatever else. By the way, hyperbaric, I've covered this in a number of episodes, has been proven to not work. So there's actual research, scientific studies with placebo controls showing that hyperbaric oxygen is no better than placebo, yet people do it. And the question is why? And the reason is because people in this state are so vulnerable. They need something to work. They need somebody to be able to help them. And they save up all their money and they think, this sounds good, I'm going to go. But they don't necessarily know that the science has disproven it, or that there's other options that are actually more effective. And this is the thing that really bothers me about this. And the reason why I do this podcast, that hopefully people out there will listen to this, learn the science, understand that these things are, not proven, or actually proven to not work. And I'm not saying this about these week-long intensives, that they're proven not to work. The science just doesn't exist. If you wanted to do a study on this, you would take a group of people, not just one or two people. You need a group of people, a large group of people, and they would go through a week-long program of legitimate therapy that they would do at a week-long intensive. Then you'd take a different group of people and you'd bring them in for a week, but you'd create a placebo control where you do rehab, but you would do it at a subclinical level, so it's not actually provoking change. But the people in the group still are getting enough rehab that they believe that the treatment that they're getting is going to be effective, because placebo is a massive, massive thing in the concussion space, in any space. This is why they do placebo-controlled trials, even with pills, right? If I'm doing a blood pressure trial and I give, group A the actual blood pressure medication I'm studying, and I give group B a pill of sugar that's nothing, and it's not the medication, even people in group B will get better. Their blood pressure will lower, right? Because your mind is so powerful that if you think that you're getting a particular substance, treatment, whatever, you're going to have a placebo effect. And I think a lot of the people that will get benefits in these week-long programs, because you can see some of them where they say, oh yeah, these were really great for me. A lot of that may just be placebo. I'm not saying that it is, but a lot of it may be. So this is why placebo-controlled trials exist. And until we actually start running trials head-to-head on this, I would tell you to steer very clear of doing a week-long intensive of anything, despite what they say on their website, because the actual scientific evidence, which I read every single day, which I have a team to break down with me every single day, is demonstrating that you need at least 8 to 10 weeks of solid rehab in a multitude of different areas as being the most effective thing you can do for persistent concussion symptoms. And so start with that. And that's kind of the way that I will leave it. So next week, I'm going to answer some questions after this, but next week we will be talking about, what are we talking about next week? Oh, what type of therapy is best for addressing issues in the neck? But back to our point of week-long intensive, Rome wasn't built in a day, and concussion cannot be cured in a week. And on that, enjoy the rest of your week. It feels good to be back. I saw a couple questions roll in, so I will take them now. For those of you listening on the audio, we're going to cut it there, and we'll see you next week. Make sure you check in the show notes below and see a link for a discount on the Ccmi practitioner training course for rehab professionals. Have a good week, guys.